Okay. Hopefully the sound will be good.
Can anybody tell me what's going on? Tell me what's going on.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Free to Speak. Hello, Paul.
Hey.
So Paul and I are hanging out in one of the local malls here in Entebbe. Actually, there's not too many. It's just one local mall.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of hanging out here, and we decided to do another video. We always get interesting comments.
Yeah. Even with the smaller viewership,
Yeah.
at least we're getting the comments coming in.
Right. And that's another thing I want to talk about is we seem to be, our smaller viewership, we seem to be lowering the number of people who are seeing our videos. And
Yeah.
maybe some of it is I haven't been making that many shorts, and sometimes it's the shorts that give us the viewers, but I don't know. But
Yeah, but then interestingly, our subscribers are growing.
our subscribers are growing. We're approaching, if we haven't hit it, we're approaching 50. I think the last I looked, we had 49 subscribers. So I don't know if we hit 50 by now. I haven't looked in a couple days, but we are growing slightly. We get a few new followers every week. So yeah, so if you're watching this, let others know and share this link with people that you think might be interested in this kind of content.
So you could find the little viewership we have actually our subscribers. So
Yeah. So I want to try to go over some of the comments that we've received. We haven't really gotten anything beyond just people agreeing with us. In times past, we would get some interesting questions and some topics that we could use for discussion. And lately, even the comments have shifted a little bit, and we're getting mostly people who are agreeing with us and not so much disagreeing with us or not suggesting new topics. And that could mean that our audience is kind of settling in. Oh, maybe we just have we have a small audience, but it's a pretty solid audience.
yeah,
And we're getting some of the same people respond.
the consistency, we appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. So we do appreciate the consistency. But this first comment I want to go over is from somebody who says, the perversion of some of these superpowers from the West. It has been developing for a long time, and the most disgusting thing is that they are trying to pervert children. And they go on to say, bring back shame, bring back modesty, and bring back boundaries. And I want to talk a little bit about this comment of bring back shame. Because in modern woke culture, shame is seen as a bad thing. If you're shaming somebody, that's a negative thing. You're supposed to be proud of whatever you're doing. You're very brave. What you're doing is very stunning and brave.
Even what you're doing is idiotic in a way.
Idiotic, or it can be dangerous, or it can be unhealthy. For example, they'll say it's fat shaming or body shaming if you point out to somebody that you're doing something that could lead to major health problems. So you get accused of body shaming.
Someone is sleeping around and they talk about it, just slut shaming.
Right. So I want to talk about this idea of bringing back shame. Is shame a bad thing? Is it something that could be helpful? And how would things be different if people actually felt shame for the things that they're doing that are unhealthy or harmful or immoral? What kind of different society would we be building?
I think if shame were to regain its place in society, then we would have a society which is run by people who have a conscience. Because I believe shame and conscience, I could use them simultaneously, or I could use them interchangeably, in the sense that someone with a conscience is someone who is able, who has the ability to be ashamed. But then if someone lacks a conscience, then they don't have the ability to be ashamed, because I can move around naked, but I have no conscience about it, and I don't feel any shame. But then if I feel ashamed or I feel shameful to walk around naked, then I'll at least cover my cover my body, and in a way that I feel like I don't feel ashamed of how I'm dressed, something like that, or growing up, there are times you could not speak out openly because you'd feel embarrassed to speak to speak these profane languages. But then what has happened is that over time in the music, in the movies, these terms are coming out openly, and we speak about them like they don't mean a big thing. So in a way, the shame around these profane words or vulgar words has been eroded, so people don't feel the impact of speaking them. Like I know now in Uganda, Bobby struggles to say the N word because every time it happens, you can see he's getting shocked. But then for me, I'm like, okay, that's not a big deal, because the word has lost its meaning or its value to us Ugandans. Because if you go to the lower class of people, the N word is it's a word of pride. You're proud to be the N word. So, and I think it's the same in the urban community in America. They also call themselves nigger, nigger this, nigger that. But then I can say that word here, but I believe Bobby cannot say it even now, because for him, his conscience doesn't let him do it. Yeah. But then if we have a society where this conscience is we bring back this kind of shame, where my conscience won't let me speak words that are profane, then we have a more sane community to live in.
Right. It's interesting you're talking about that word I can't say. my wife and I have a TikTok page we do together called Chocolate and Vanilla, and we did a joke where we're playing this song where it's like, I can say, the N-word, the word I can't say.
Yeah.
And in the video, she's singing the song, and then turns around to me, and she's kind of like pretending like she's dancing, and she's kind of singing along with it. I'm looking at her with as a joke, humorously, I'm looking at her with my mouth, dropped open and my eyes like shocked, like and she's like saying, I can say, that word.
Yeah, I know, and it's
I still can't say the
it's
word.
a sort of a black privilege,
Yeah.
The blacks have the privilege of saying this N-word, nigger. I can say it and then have much impact, but then the white person can't, and that's the hypocrisy we have out there. Like, I think I've talked about this hypocrisy. We have too much hypocrisy in the corporate world. It's unnecessary, because I can't call myself a nigger, but then when Bobby calls me a nigger, it's racist. Like, what is that? Because if you say it somewhere and it's captured on camera, they'll call you racist.
Right. Then
you get a point.
Well, you say that's like a double standard, but what are your thoughts about that? Do you think that it should be that way? Do you like that it's that way?
No, definitely, because if it's a bad word, then it should be used anywhere.
Yeah.
But then, why is it that some people can use it and others can't?
Right. So what about using, I know there's words that describe white people as well, words that I don't find offensive, like honky. Like, I don't care if people call me honky, but of course it doesn't have the history that the N-word does. But there's other words that do. Like, there's a word that's not used so much anymore, but decades ago was used in the US for a white person, which was cracker. And that was a derogatory term for white people. And that's a more offensive term because that was actually derogatory. But it's a word that's not really used much anymore.
I've never heard of it until you said it.
Yeah, but it's not really used that much anymore. But in the 60s it was more widespread. But for me personally, I would really prefer that those terms, all those terms, for all races, not be used at all. I wish we as a society would stop using all of those terms. Even though I understand the standard of why I can't say the N-word, but you can, I personally would like us to come to a point where we stop using these derogatory terms, period. But I understand that's a choice people have to make. But that's just what I would like to see. But
yeah, it's quite unattainable.
Unattainable, you're right.
Yeah.
It is. But yeah.
But I get where you're coming from.
Yeah. So, all right. So we have another interesting comment. I always call all our comments interesting.
I know, right? Because they are, right?
Yeah, they are. But since they are. Yeah. But I don't want to, because I call them all interesting. Maybe I don't want to imply that loses meaning for an individual comment, because yeah, they're all interesting. And the fact that we're talking about them shows that they're interesting. But this one, this next comment, says that the West has an embarrassing reputation for being soft, which is actually a big contrast to history. And I think he's talking about being soft morally now, that it doesn't take a stand anymore on anything, that anything goes, I think is what he's saying. And he goes on to say, I think now the only way to get things right would be to build new Christian cities from scratch and have their own laws separate from that of the country. Now, I'm not sure that this is the solution. I do understand I understand this person's sentiments. Although I don't think that building separate cities where we can divide from society is the answer, because you and I, Paul, both consider ourselves to be Christians, but yet we know from the Bible that we're not of the world. We're not supposed to be of the ways of the world, but we're still in the world. So how can we be a part of the world, be in the world, without conforming to its values? And that's kind of the question that I'm, asking myself. Not that we pull out. We live in this world, but how do we live lives that are different from the surrounding culture and society?
Yeah, I get where he's coming from, because, if he's struggling with the masses that are probably not heeding to advice, or not heeding to the need for change, then sometimes you feel like you want to give up. And I see him surrendering. That's why he says, let's build our own cities and all.
He's frustrated.
And I understand his frustration,
Understandably
because
so.
these people are really so aggressive out there, and they're doing everything it takes to destroy structures, social structures, and they are destroying them in a sense of we are saving them, but actually you're just destroying social structures and morals and etc. But then we can't change people by isolating them, in a sense, right? Because for example, if I said, we're tired of people who are not educated, who are not literate, so let's separate them and have our own world as literate, educated people, then you don't get a chance to influence them or help them become better. Because even at some point, you yourself were not literate, you yourself were not educated. So before you were educated, if people are discriminated against you for not being educated, then you don't have attained that kind of education. But because there are people who are educated, who are willing to push that influence onto you, so you as well, can pick a leaf or something from them and push on the forces or like the change, the wave of change. Same with morals. So you can't say that, okay, for us we want to be the purists, so we want to avoid to isolate ourselves from those people who are impure. In a sense, you are condemning people to being worse, and in a sense, you're also showing that you have given up. You have no fight left in you. But then you should keep fighting. Don't give up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you cannot influence people when you're not part of them.
You're taking your light out of the darkness, I guess you could say.
Then the darkness will become darker.
Yeah, it becomes darker. But I think, and I understand his concern. Maybe his concern is that it's possible that our light is being dimmed because we're being influenced by the darkness.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why he's feeling frustration. But we need to find ways to be in this culture, in this society, in this world, without conforming to its values. And of course that's hard, that's difficult, because it means we're going to be misunderstood. It could mean we could be persecuted, we could face hostility. And maybe some of that is too, it's easier to take a road of compromise and to conform to what's going on around you. So like I've seen, for example, people who used to be very traditional in their values, but they've compromised in recent years because they can't handle the pressure that they're facing around them. And it's easier just to compromise and to change and go along with the woke crowd than it is to face the possibility of being canceled by them, or losing your job, or whatever sort of consequences you might have for that.
It takes a lot of effort to actually not stray from your values. In a world where everything is berserk, things are not in line.
Right.
But then that's where credit is given to those who actually keeping to their values. For example, there's a saying that bad company corrupts good morals, or bad company corrupts good something character, something like that.
Bad company corrupts good moral. Wait.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I can.
So basically, yeah. So while you want to influence people to become better, or to, you want to be the savior for society, even along the way, you as well being part of that society can wash away your values, or you compromise, like Bobby has said. People have compromised their values to fit in and not be attacked. But then, if you're standing for what is right, there's a saying, there's a song by Bobby Wine. If you want to stand for the truth, you better be willing to stand alone. But I believe it's not for Bobby Wine. Probably it's one of those great speakers.
It's a common, common.
So yeah, if you're standing for the truth, then you better be willing to stand alone. So it's not an easy run. That's okay. I'm being pure. I'm following my values, and it's not going to be easy. But then I think eventually it will be worth it, because the longer you take, and stick to your values, people will follow you. Eventually, someone will notice, and even if you save 2 people from the rotting of the world, you've done your part.
Yeah.
Same with us. You find that we are talking, and a few people are listening, and others are not listening. But at least those few that are listening and identifying with our message, that's our impact. That's our impact. We don't, ideally we would like to see 1 million views, but even when you see 50 views, those people are following us, and they're getting the message. That's our impact.
Right.
You can only do as much as you can do.
All right.